Hi, welcome to the Addiction Recovery Place podcast, the podcast champion addiction treatment professionals around the world. I'm your host, Chris Langley, and I'm very pleased to introduce today's guests, Matt Haar and Drew Ainbon from Morganton, North Carolina. Matt is the program director of the Flynn Recovery Community, a Burke Recovery program that provides a 90-day recovery program for men. Drew is the executive director of the Burke Council of Alcoholism and Chemical Dependency. Welcome to the Addiction Recovery Place podcast, Matt and Drew. It's great to have you both with us today.
Good to be here. Thanks for having us.
Thank you very much indeed. Really appreciate it. I know you guys are both very busy, so we're just going to jump straight into this. Firstly, Matt, can you tell us about your journey and how you became the program director at Flynn?
Yeah, so, I like a lot of addiction stories and stuff, mine's a lot the same as anybody else's. I grew up in a good family. I kind of got on with the wrong crowd, and I got on pain pills when I was a kid for a knee injury, and that just spiraled me down and led me to addiction. Me and my wife both got hit pretty hard with it. We both went to prison. My mom got the kids and different things like that, and I just couldn't find a way out. I kept going to these rehabs and detoxes, and I couldn't find a way out. I kept going back home, and when I went to the last rehab, they told me about a place called Flynn Recovery Community in Morganton, North Carolina. So I went through there, and I was very judgmental at first, and I didn't think it was going to work. But the love that I felt from Flynn Recovery Community and Burke Recovery as a whole, the love that I felt for them and the non-judgment, and it just brought me in. And when I came in, I couldn't spell recovery. I had no idea what that looked like. And these guys, that worked at Burke Recovery and that worked at Flynn Recovery Community, they took me in and they was patient with me, and just the love that they showed me was something that I never felt before. I've always felt judgment, So I actually came through Flynn Home as a client in 2020. And when I graduated, I loved what Burke Recovery and Flynn Home does so much that I wanted to be a part of it. So I started becoming a night technician, and I would stay the nighttime with the guys to take them to meetings and make sure they ate and make sure they was in bed by 10 and all that. And then I would go to work, and I did that for a couple of years, and then the job came open for the program director, and they offered it to me, and I jumped on it, and it's been the best thing ever. These guys help me more than they know, and I'm just lucky and blessed to be able to be a part of it, But what kept me here was just the love that these guys showed the clients, and I want to mirror that. So whenever clients come in, I want to show them that same love and that same tolerance and the same patience that I was shown, So.
Yes. Yeah. Well, firstly, congratulations on your achievement with recovery, Matt. That's quite inspiring, and the fact that you're now in the position that you're in speaks volumes for yourself. So that's a huge one. So big congratulations to you on that. Drew, how did you become the executive director of Burke Council on Alcoholism and Chemical Dependency? What's your story?
It's similar to Matt's. I also am a person in recovery. I guess both of our stories kind of symbolize the message of hope and maybe redemption and renewal. And there's a lot of spiritual growth that's happened over the years as a result. But I too came from a good family. They raised me right. I was really influenced at a young age by music, by, I guess, culture, by, kind of not necessarily sports and things like that, but music, skateboarding, kind of just that whole type of scene. And we viewed ourselves as different than or other than, and didn't really feel like we fit in. And with that came exploration, and I started out smoking marijuana and drinking alcohol, and that morphed into using psychedelics, LSD and mushrooms and things like that. And really feeling this spiritual connection and this kind of fellowship and network with just a core group of friends that I had at the time. But I didn't know what was happening internally as a person while that whole process was going on. So I continued to use different substances. Moved into cocaine, moved into opiates and things like that, and it just became a darker, more just a darker world that encompasses you. What I can say is, at the core of my addiction, you'll find isolation, you'll find selfishness and self-centeredness, things like that. And so that takes me away from this kind of birthright purpose and this connection and fellowship with other human beings. So there's a lot of loss that occurs for an individual spiritually and emotionally when they dive deep into their addiction. And there's a lot of disbelief. And one day you realize that this isn't working. The literature from 12-step fellowships will tell you, when the pain of remaining the same becomes greater than your fear of change, you will surely let go. And that's something that I've held on to all these years. So fast forward, life was a wreck. I couldn't be honest, didn't have healthy relationships, wasn't happy, realized that I was powerless, that I had no ability to stop using, and then entered into a long-term treatment facility called First at Blue Ridge, which is in Ridgecrest, only about a half hour away from us here in North Carolina. And that was a 12-month program where I got a sponsor. I went to 12-step fellowship meetings. I went to church services, had a job assignment, and just it added everything, all the pieces of the puzzle that I could. Any spiritual guidance, anything like that. We practice a Native American tradition from the Lakota Nation of sweat lodge, of purification ceremonies. And I just started to find this connection with other people, with myself and all things, that really revealed a lot of purpose and direction for my life. So I just went there in hopes to stop using, and before long figured that I had experience that qualified me in this field, and started to show up and just do the work. So worked in house management, case management, medication administration, administrative work. Got a really good opportunity at First at Blue Ridge and stayed there for 14 years. And then this opportunity became available to kind of steer the ship, and I jumped on it. So that's how I'm here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow. Well, congratulations to you as well. That's incredibly inspiring. And the fact that you're in the position you're at now, as I said to Matt, speaks volumes for the hard work that you've put into your recovery, and the fact that you can now pass that on to your clients is incredibly rewarding. So big congratulations to you on that. So tell us about some of the services that you both offer at your community. What goes on at your service?
So at the Flynn Recovery Community, we usually have about 8 clients. That's how much the facility can hold, and we're real big on service work for the community. It could be as little as like one time the lady lost her husband. We went over and did yard work for her. I'm working with a lady on the overdose response team with getting ready to start building ramps for wheelchair accessible people. It's just anything that we can do for the community. We'll do events, we'll do charity, we'll go down to the mission and help them guys out. If they need help unloading the warehouse, we'll go do that. There's a lot of people in the program that we practice that will come, and they're older folks, and they need, like a tree fell over. We went over there and cut their wood down. If somebody's having an event, we'll show up and volunteer our time. It's very important to me to show my guys the importance of service work, because it helps the community, but it's a blessing for us. Recently we had a close friend of ours pass away, and their kids was just distraught, obviously, So we stepped in, we did all the heavy lifting of moving her mother's house out, and we took it to the place and donated it for her. We got her mother a plaque and did a plaque ceremony for her. It's just little things like that, because that's in my opinion, that's the things that speaks volume for your recovery. It's the little things. If somebody in the house is sick, I encourage other guys to help them out on their chores, but we're always available for service in the community, and we're well known in the community. People know that they can stop by the Flynn house and they can say, hey, I'm having this kind of issues. Can you help out? And I'm always, absolutely, just give me a time and we'll work it out, because it speaks volume for the community and for our recovery. So it's really a win-win for everybody involved.
Definitely. So what addictions do you help treat, and how do your programs help someone remain substance free?
So, a treetop view of that would be, we have different sectors, different things that we do, and you could look at that as we have the Flynn Recovery Community, which is a residential treatment facility. So that's actual boots on the ground, residential people coming, doing the hard work of the personal clearing work, the growing, the learning, and fellowship. And that's what Matt speaks to, service work. On the best thing that an addict or an alcoholic can do when they're struggling is get in the presence of another addict or alcoholic and to be of service, right? This could be one of the highest aspirations of the human heart, you could say, is to help others. And so when you do that, you leave yourself and all the drama and minutia that happens there. You're not at the center of the universe, and you're able to become a part of something bigger. So there's principles there. Matt teaches those to the guys at the Flynn home. They have a clinical curriculum. So there's the residential treatment part, and then we have a rock star for a clinical director. She has a long list of credentials, is able to provide individual and group therapy, counseling sessions for adolescents and adults, marriage counseling, supervision, you name it. It's impressive, her scope of service that she can provide. So we capitalize on that. Burke Recovery has been here for 58 years in our community. So yeah, it's when Matt said they're well known, they're well known. They've been here, a go-to stakeholder in the community for people that need clinical or therapy or addiction services, things of that nature. So there's the clinical aspect that we provide for the community. There's the residential treatment aspect that we provide for the community. We also have adolescent prevention specialists that enter into our school system, all of the middle schools and all the high schools in our county. And we have prevention specialists that are on property there that take referrals from the administrative staff or students that may violate a tobacco or a vape or a substance use or alcohol policy. And we start that process of education and introduction and information into recovery and healing. So I'm super proud of that. And all this it's not contradictory to me, but it's somewhat new to me. I am a program builder at heart. My vision is to have a long-term treatment facility with a detox attached to it for our region, for our area, because you would have to literally go to Hickory 30 miles away or Asheville 35, 40 miles away in order to receive those services. So we're identifying gaps that are here in the community through that work that we're doing. So harm reduction, prevention, treatment, counseling, yep. We're about all of that.
Yeah. Wow. That sounds incredible. And the fact you've been established for such a long time, speaks absolute volumes. So tell us about the other team members that you have at Burke Recovery. Who else is involved?
So we've got Bernice is our finance director, and she is a rock star too. Mm-hmm. She's wonderful. She doesn't let anything get past her, and she knows where everything is. She's a wealth of knowledge. So we have that. Jane is our clinical director, and again, I explained about her laundry list of credentials. She does fantastic work. Matt at the Flynn home, myself, we have a lady named Tracy that is a program coordinator for our drug-free communities grant that we work with, and that is a coalition of stakeholders that engages the community, and we create needs assessments. We find out where the heart of the community is. We're trying to raise awareness so that we can move from acknowledging a problem and get past denying that it's there, and then move into being aware of it, and then actually cultivate that into action within the community so we can help heal. So Tracy takes care of our drug-free communities grant. Then we have a youth specialist. His name is Dorian Kirshner, and he goes into our schools and teaches a curriculum, a program, life skills, and different modules for students. And a lot of times we kind of go off the cuff and just have real genuine, kind of heartfelt conversations with the people that we serve. It kind of allows us to connect. Then we have Matika Robinson. She's our longest tenured employee. She's been here for 26 years, and she's an adolescent prevention specialist. So she's worked with thousands of youth in our community through the school system over the years, helping them grow and helping them learn where to get help if they need it and things of that nature. Renee Chapman is a prevention specialist. She does that same work. So then we have Brenda, who is an office manager who does a lot of scheduling appointments. She works with the clinical staff, and she manages some federal probation grants and a juvenile crime prevention council, Department of Juvenile Justice. There's all these acronyms in the world of recovery. When you get here, you start to realize this is a pretty deep area. So those things. And then we have Kelly, who does some a Work First program, which is food nutrition safety. That's getting people hooked up with resources, CPS, Child Protective Services, you name it. We really want to be inclusive.
You're offering everything. It's quite remarkable hearing this, because I didn't realize it was such a big organization. I mean, to have so many staff, very dedicated staff members on your team, that's very impressive. So that's wonderful to hear. So you said that you help young people who are accessing the adolescent prevention services. Can you tell us a little bit more about this program?
Yeah, so this is a program that we created through Burke County Schools. So we have the backing of our Director of Student and Family Services, and those adolescent services that we provide are in the form of groups and counseling. So what happens is, if a student starts to display disruptive, destructive, or addictive behaviors, if they get caught on property, on premises, violating one of those policies, they're referred to us, and then oftentimes we will make an appointment with our clinical director, and we'll do what's called a comprehensive clinical assessment. It's just an initial assessment about where this person is. It's rooted in best practices. It can identify treatment goals and treatment plans that are needed or necessary. So then we'll run those youth through an educational program that we created called SKIP. It's a school intervention program, and it's a recognized program with the federal folks called Project Towards No Drugs. And its informational and education was probably the first place to start. It's just sparking conversations, having conversations with a group of kids about their behavior, about what they're seeing, what they're feeling, and trying to get them to think in a different area. If that doesn't, that's a 12-hour curriculum that takes place over 6 weeks, 2 hours per week. And so that's a good program. And then if we need more intensive care, we'll move into a 40-hour curriculum that is a little bit more comprehensive. And then, we would update treatment plans, set treatment goals, make recommendations. A lot of this is because some of these youth are justice involved. So when I mentioned the Department of Juvenile Justice and the Juvenile Crime Prevention Council, they will make referrals to us and say, these kids are really, really acting out. We don't want them to become part of the system, just another number. We don't necessarily want punitive or incarceration or those methods. We would rather enter into the area of treatment. And that's where North Carolina is as a state, does some pretty good work compared to others. Not that it's a competition, but we're leading the way in a lot of ideas. It's not been that long that recovery was viewed as taboo or has a stigma attached to it. It still does, but now we've acknowledged that mental health and mental wellness it goes hand in hand, and diagnoses are there, and there's medication assisted treatment, and there's just an evolution of the way that things are going, so that we can provide better services to the people. And the youth are where we start.
Yeah.
The youth are where we start. That premise is as plain and upfront as it could be. They're our future. We want to provide them the resources and the support that they deserve.
Most definitely, most definitely. What is the Burke Substance Abuse Network?
So the Burke Substance Abuse Network is attached to the Drug Free Communities Grant. The Drug Free Communities Grant we have for a period of 10 years. We're currently in our 6th year of that grant. And the idea is to create a coalition of community stakeholders. So these coalition members actually sign off and they say, we'll become part of the Burke Substance Abuse Network and we'll do this work for the community. So there's 12 sectors. We include educational sectors from youth, from the school system, from the business sector in our county, from the religious sector, the churches, the spiritual aspect. There's just a representation of community stakeholders that have a say-so. And what we do is we identify needs in our community. And through the grant, there are reporting measures that we have to adhere to. So we are creating community needs assessments, logic models, strategy plans, where we're finding out what works and what doesn't. And then, collectively, we're listening to the community and exacting or executing their ideas that they come up with. So we provide the funding. Burke Recovery provides the funding.
Yeah.
We created the Burke Substance Abuse Network, and we gave funding to it, and we have a monthly meeting that we throw on the last Friday of every month, where we have a swanky little venue at the community house here in Morganton. We provide breakfast. It's from 8 to 10. We provide breakfast, coffee and orange juice, refreshments, all that. And we have speakers or presentations or just meetings about what we're seeing, updates about the work we're doing, and what we can do to continue that work. So it's a very, very community-facing, public-facing engagement that really allows a community to get active.
So this is something you've been building just for the last 6 years, really, and you've already achieved this level of community
The
engagement.
Substance Abuse Network has actually been around since 2011, but it was a perfect fit. So yes, we attached it to the hip of the Drug Free Communities Grant, and it's been a perfect segue. And yes, in 6 years we've become successful, but the goal is to get it to stand on its own 2 legs after the life of the grant. Oftentimes, Chris, you'll see grants expire and the work stops, and that's by design in a lot of ways. But in theory, it would be meant for us to do the hard work of bringing the community together to carry that work forward, provide the funding for it, figure it out, find out who's going to do it, so that mission can continue to walk on. So.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's huge. I'm so impressed hearing this, and the fact that you've got so many community members and organisations involved with what your goal is. It speaks volumes. It really, really does. I'm just going to move on to a little bit about kind of what's going on in the United States, because obviously there's major issues with fentanyl and other opioids, and sadly worldwide now it seems to be spreading. How is North Carolina coping with this epidemic?
You got any input on that?
Well, yeah, I think it's hard for anybody to cope with this epidemic, because it's always evolving, and it's an epidemic, and it's a poison, an overdose is I don't know the exact definition, but overdose is too much of something which makes you overdose. With fentanyl, you can do a grain and die, So my personal opinion is it's not really an overdose of fentanyl; it's a poisoning of fentanyl. And it kind of came out of nowhere. And I think everybody's just trying, harm reduction and education. Um, I think for North Carolina, it's really come alive that we need to address the issue. The elephant in the room. And I think we're just trying to figure out as best we can. I know for myself, I was addicted to fentanyl for about 10 years, and I've overdosed 8 times, and like I know now, like Burke County has an overdose response team. So what that means is, whenever they have an overdose call, they have peer supports that go with them to the overdose call, and they're all trained, and then they can talk to the patient right there on scene and get them help, get them on a medication treatment, get them into a rehab, or just get them a number to call, if they need. I know now that they got that national number, never use alone. You can call a number if you're alone and you're going to use, and you can talk to them while you're using, and if you become unresponsive, then they call the authorities. So they got that now. I recently just learned about that a couple of days ago, which is great, because as a person being in recovery, people that's still in the grips of addiction, they're not bad people. Nobody in third grade, when the teacher asked you what you want to be when you grow up, nobody said, I want to be strung out on fentanyl or strung out on drugs or an alcoholic, So I think a lot of times that stigma gets attached to them, and we're like, oh, well, they're addicted, let's just let them go. But they're good people, and the overdose response team and the Narcan, all that being available, I think is because you never know when you go to an overdose call, you could be saving the next presidents of the United States. I mean, you never know what that person's going to do with their life. And me and Drink living proof of that. I mean, 4 or 5 years ago, I was digging out of dumpsters, and now I'm helping people. But if people wouldn't have been patient with me and saved my life when I needed them to 8 different times, I wouldn't be here talking to you right now. So I think the national line, and then the overdose response team, and just seeing what works and what doesn't work, and then trying to remove the stigma out of it. Any put on that?
You ready for my answer, Chris?
Oh yeah, that's it, right?
I'm not going to pull any punches or hide. I do try to be respectful, and the political environment and climate that we're in is a huge part. But you ask nationally, or even with on a state level, how's North Carolina doing? We're not doing enough, and despite our best efforts nationally, the problem is growing. And this is something that we cannot continue to allow to happen or pretend that our best efforts are making an effect that they're actually not. So what I would say, recovery was an option for me. People went to bat for me. They showed me a better way and a different way to live. It was interactive, and that's hands-on. That's what long-term treatment is. That's what we need. So we need to heal are currently sick and suffering. And what I see nationally is there are options, and not everybody understands this. We have an option to turn our back on the ones that are sick and suffering. That's a generational type thing. Maybe through time that would change, just like the popularity of different drugs and the way they come back and go away and things like that. It's all kind of existential. It's really a treetop view for this is that we have currently sick and suffering that need treatment. Then harm reduction and prevention, this is wonderful, but you are not going to buy 1 trillion doses of Narcan and solve this problem. It's just not going to happen. Safe needle exchanges, Narcan vending machines, they're wonderful creative ideas, but at the core, we need that community, we need that fellowship, we need the dollars that the federal government will give so that can go to the state level, so that then it could go to the county level and actually reach the communities that need it in the programs that can be suggested. That's why these community stakeholders are important, because even here in our county, Chris, You can drive 5 miles down the road and there is a specifically different set of needs for that population than there is
Yeah.
even here where we're at. So access to services, right? People like Matt's talking about.
Yeah.
Peer supports are it's a buzzword and there's a lot of momentum behind it. If you say trauma informed care, if you say peer support, if you say harm reduction or prevention, that's pretty popular stuff these days. And they're wonderful therapies and wonderful remedies, but they're not enough on its own. So what we need to do is look at this epidemic, look at this problem as an ecosystem. I suggest we build recovery ecosystems that take into account the person first, and start to heal all of the issues that come with that. And those are, a lot of times you'll find that there's generational trauma that's passed on. Addicts and alcoholics don't choose to be addicts and alcoholics. A lot of times you'll hear say, I didn't have a choice. And what we mean is that you stop making your own choices when your addiction takes over and you do whatever you have to do to get to the next one. Speaking freely, consequences are a powerful thing. Our judicial system is a wonderful representation of that. When you lose freedoms, you lose your ability to make your own decisions. Well, addiction does that as well. But I don't believe that we know enough about it. I think that doctors could do better. I don't want to pass the blame to them, but board certified doctor in this country spends approximately 10% of their curriculum in the study of pain management. That's unacceptable. I know more about it than they do. And I feel confident saying that.
Yeah.
Stop giving people with back injuries and broken ankles and whatnot opioid, highly addictive medications. They don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Stop lowering the threshold for Suboxone and Sublocade, saying, well, I think it can treat alcoholism and I think it can treat pain management. Of course it can, because there's a euphoric effect to it. But you don't know what you're doing.
Yep.
Healing is a different thing.
Mm-hmm.
Am I making any sense, or is it just too opinionated?
Oh, 100%. No, 100%. 100%. Person-centered.
Yes. Yeah, the individual, we have to acknowledge the person. There's beauty in that, right? And
Yeah.
a lot of the programs that we create pay it forward. When someone would come to long-term treatment, I would want to address their physical needs. So I would create relationships with our community doctors. A lot of addicts will have dental issues. And I'm not talking about comprehensive care, but maybe the ability to pull or yank a dead tooth out of your head that's causing you massive pain and not allowing you to focus on today and in the moment, right? First things first. In our area, you'll find hypertension, high blood pressure, diabetes, heart disease, all of these things from the culture, from the diet that we eat. Maybe we start to address some of those issues. Do you have a GED? Oh, you don't? Let's go ahead and take some of this federally funded dollars and create these programs so that we can get you in better health, better wellness, a primary care physician, get you your education rolling, show you that there's people that care and can do things for you, which could allow you to step up to the plate and focus on the hard work of recovery. So that's what I'm about.
And that's what I love about Flynn Recovery Community, because like when the guys get there, a lot of times they got nothing but the clothes on their back, and they don't have to provide nothing. Like it's not a work program. They spend all their time building their foundation of recovery. So when they come in, their hygiene's provided, their bedding's provided. We provide clothes, we provide food, we get them into the doctor, we get them into the dentist. Because if you look good, you feel good. And we make sure that they're on a good diet. We make sure that we go hiking and walking, because it's also important to have fun in recovery also. But the thing, in my opinion, that makes Flynn Recovery Community different than from a lot of these other recovery homes is you don't have to work while you're there. You work on yourself. You work on your relationship with your higher power. You work on your relationship with whatever it is. Because, like when people come in, everybody's got different issues. We all got the same solution, but we got different issues. So we got to look at them at their core. And they spend all their time working on themselves, getting themselves better, getting the fog lifted. And it's just great to see somebody come in, like there's one gentleman there now that came in with nothing but clothes on his back. And now he's got so much stuff, he's giving stuff away.
So he doesn't even have an ID when he gets here. So legally in this country, he's not I-9able. This individual can't even get a job. He can't even prove his identification. Like, we're oftentimes starting from ground zero with nothing. And so then the question is, do you have the best option would be a passport. If you don't have a passport, do you have a birth certificate? Do you have a social security card? Do you have a prison ID? Do you have an identification card? And if you don't, we have to track those things down.
Right.
So case management becomes part of the person-centered idea, and the familial aspect. You need to heal relationships, but in time. A lot of times your loved ones have to let you go in order to save their own life, because you represent such chaos for them. So a little bit of separation is important sometimes, but does that just stay on the back burner while you focus on yourself? There is a lot of stuff going on, and individuals need guidance and support and help. And so Matt's become, an expert case manager and, a therapist, a counselor, an educator. I mean, Matt, you name it. It's just very well-rounded approach.
Yeah. It's very unique and very good. And I mean, it really works. It really works.
Oh, I can tell just hearing from the passion that you guys speak about. It comes from a really good, solid place. It really does, and I can't commend you guys enough. On the last couple of questions here, have you a message to anyone who's listening to this podcast who's going through addiction?
Somebody that's going through addiction, I get it. I was there. I didn't, like I shared before, I didn't see no way out, but I leaped in faith. So I would say to somebody that's struggling with addiction is just keep trying. The only time we fail is when we stop trying. There's nothing wrong with falling down as long as you get back up. And a lot of times, or every time, the people that fall and get back up are stronger than the people that never fall at all. And remember, the farther you get away from your family, the closer to your family you're going to actually get. It's always a small time sacrifice for a long time gain. And I challenge anybody listening, just try it. Because I was very optimistic, very judgmental, and I didn't believe it would work. And I told myself when I was in the camper, I said, well, I'll go try it. And if it don't work, I'll go back to the camper. And I tell my guys when they come in, just try it with all your might. And if you don't like it, I will buy you a bus ticket back home. And I haven't had nobody ask me for a bus ticket back home. And it's one of the things where you can't explain the miracles that you're going to receive. You have to experience it because it's so unbelievable. But you have to make the first step. And that's the hardest step, is you got to ask for help. And then you got to listen to suggestions. When somebody tells you to do something, don't do it. And always remember, if you're not uncomfortable, you're not growing. And if you're not growing, you're going. So it's worth it. Take it from somebody that was a 20-year needle junkie that didn't want to stop. And now that I've tasted this life of recovery, it's so amazing. But you got to make the first step, and that's the hardest. You got to ask for help, and you got to be willing to do whatever it takes. But just never give up and keep trying.
My message is a message of hope. It's that we do recover. It's that we do heal. Healing is possible. Healing can take place the very second you enter into the practice of spiritual principles. So when we leave the isolation and the self-centeredness and the selfishness of addiction, and we enter into the mainstream current of connection and fellowship, something wonderful is starting to happen. And Matt touched on it. I don't feel the need to explain away the magic, because you can't. And it's something that you do have to show up for. But the message is one of hope. I would say that through hard work, through your best ability, which is your availability, that means it's your ability to show up. I would say that levels the playing field. That makes all of us equal. Addiction doesn't discriminate. I've had master mechanics, I've had lawyers, we've had brain surgeons, we've had, you name it, it doesn't discriminate. So your ability to show up, listen with the intention of learning, right? Listen, share when you become ready, when it's on your heart. Start to give of yourself. These are things that all of us can do, and others can show you how to do it. Others can help you with that process. You're not alone. You don't have to do it alone. You can turn your pain into something that doesn't cripple you. I'm not going to tell you that it goes away for the newcomer, but it can turn into something that you can use for motivation. This can provide direction and purpose for your life. And when you find that connection, you become changed. A spiritual awakening is what I'm speaking about. A newness into your life, a purpose to live with. And so if that sounds appealing to anybody that's struggling, reach out to us. We'd love to at least just have a conversation. We don't want anything in return. I'd love to share my experience, strength, and hope. I'd love to tell you that it does work, that you're not alone, that you can do this, that it's not about good, bad, right, or wrong. You might be able to point to something early in recovery and say that's good, bad, right, or wrong. So what? Do you want to be right or do you want to heal? The concepts of good, bad, right, and wrong don't work. They don't connect early in recovery because you have a lot of change occurring. You have a lot happening. So we stop with that. We practice spiritual principles. We accept what we find ourselves as, where we're at. That acceptance turns into surrender, which can open the door for a power greater than yourself. And those are the core measures. That's the basic tools that you'll need to navigate the rest of your recovery. Then you'll learn about yourself and how you behave. It hurts me and it hurts my heart that a lot of addicts and alcoholics don't believe that they can be forgiven. They don't believe that it's for them. So we stay stuck by this judgment of ourselves, by this negative talk. If you're struggling today, I would ask you to give yourself permission to heal. Just tell yourself that I'm going to give myself permission to try something new. Right?
Yeah.
There's power in that.
Yeah, and one last thing for everybody watching, remember, recovery doesn't happen for people that want it. Recovery doesn't happen for people that need it. Recovery only happens for people who do it. So when you do it, and you always got to stick with the winners because you are who you hang out with. So just remember that.
Yeah. Well, those are two very beautiful messages there, guys. Thank you so much. My last question. Tell our listeners how to best contact you and find your service online.
So burkerecovery.com is our website. It is currently being overhauled.
Yep.
And we have a fancy new shiny one coming that has more accurate, more current information. So that's going to be a powerful tool. It's been built and designed to take into account Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, all of those forms of social media. So we'll have updates on there. We'll have a clear and concise explanation of the services that we provide. You can reach us at phone number 828-433-1221. That's 828-433-1221. We're located at 203 White Street in Morganton, North Carolina, 28655. BurkeRecovery.com. My name is Drew. Chris, I gave you my contact information. You can give it out. Find us. You'll find us at the top of the search engine when you do Burke Recovery.
Yep.
Yeah, and if you need inpatient, you can, when you call Burke Recovery, you can tell them that you need inpatient, or you can call the office 828-437-9491. 828-437-9491.
Even if you don't want to come here to Morganton, maybe we have connections. Maybe I can get you situated in the Asheville area. Maybe I can get you situated in the Durham area, the Hope Haven, the Trosa and Durham, Hope Haven and Charlotte, folks down east at the coast. Just ask. If we can help you get to your next place where you're going, we're willing to do that too.
Right. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I couldn't think of a better way of ending today's podcast, guys. Matt and Drew, it's been a genuine honor to speak to you and to find out the amazing work that you're all doing down there. The whole team, the community. I'm very excited to hear about this, and big congratulations to you both for what you've achieved and what you're going to achieve as well, because I know you're going to just keep going and it's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. So big congratulations to you all. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
Chris.
You're welcome. Thank you for what you do. And if you're ever here in town or ever by, feel free to contact us. We'd love to show you what we do. Show you some people that are growing currently. It's a success stories.
Yes.
So we have those. Yeah.
Oh, big time. Oh, big time. I can hear that. Well, thank you very much for the invite, both of you, and much appreciated.
Thanks, Chris.
Very much.